Alright, this is a basic walkthrough of how Bitey McBite face functions. Two of Johnny's welcomes, pretty basic. Whenever a creature enters under your control, you gain 1 life. 3 Fountains of Renewal, hopefully you get these early so they really pay off. 2 Dawn of Hope, very necessary for card draw if nothing else presents itself. And on the side has a chance to throw up some chump blockers with lifelink, which synergizes as well with the deck. 4 Famished Paladins. You don't have any 1-drops for mobs, for creatures, so these guys really fill that slot. 2 mana for a 3/3 is great, and with life gain, they essentially either act as regular mobs, untapping on your untap phase, when your Fountain of Renewal kicks off, or anytime you cast a summon through a Johnny's Welcome, or anytime one of the other lifelink type things comes into play, at which point it basically ends up having vigilance. The Dust Legion Zealots, these are really just for early card draw and to get some bodies out there. The Legion Lieutenants, obviously, they buff all of the other vampires. They're great to use as bait because people consider them to be really high priority targets, but they're not all that essential to the deck working. They're, of course, helpful, but you've got other means to buff, and you really don't have to really try too hard to keep anything that you have alive. So you can do well with having stuff burned out and just bringing more and more in. The Luminous Bonds, obviously, they're to eliminate threats, for general attacking or blocking. Make a Stand, it's the 1 combat trick in the book. +1/+0 to all your creatures and indestructible until end of turn. Basically lets you clear some of their mobs if you need to. Maverin Fane, Dusk Apostle. This guy's pretty much integral to the deck. Well, he's important to the deck, but he's also really good bait because people really view him as a threat. Basically, whenever any real vampire, not a token vampire, attacks, you get a white 1/1 vampire with lifelink. The Ixalan's Bindings, obviously, they're just there to help eliminate high threats, whether they're creatures or enchantments, artifacts, planeswalkers, or whatever. Sanctum Seekers, this is pretty much the meat of the deck here. Every time you attack with a vampire, your opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. That, of course, triggers with all of the life gain stuff. Then you've got the Twilight Prophets. These guys are pretty much your end game if you can get them out. They're, once you've got the City's Blessing, which you should be able to get to with the Call of Feast Setter to follow pretty easily. It's massive life gain for you, and life loss for them. Call to the Feast, pretty straightforward. It's more vampires. They're with lifelink. The Vanquisher's Banners, these are pretty much essential for late-game buffing, mid to late-game buffing, and card draw. You can theoretically get 2 or 3 cards a turn off of this if you're throwing out something like Dust Legion Zealots or the Famished Paladins, etc. And the Immortal Sun, these are basically, it's mainly to lock down planeswalkers, and if they're not playing white, they probably can't deal with the Immortal Sun. Plus it's additional card draw, it's additional spell cost, which means in late game, which is really when you're going to see this card come out, you can start using that card draw with that lowered spell cost to pump out multiple cards per turn. And on top of that, of course, you get +1/+1 for all your creatures. For the lands, the Forsaken Sanctuaries are really optional. You don't have to take them. They can slow the deck down just because they always come in tapped under any circumstances, but I've personally found that without them, and just having regular plains and swamps in their place, 2 of each, too often you either end up with no white available, which really slows the deck down. You actually need more white than black in this because you have so many white spells that are low cost that you can usually get multiples out per turn. And if you don't get 2 black by turn 4, you're pretty much mana screwed at that point. So the next set here is 5 games in a row, run from the regular constructed event that's going on. I did go 5-0 in the series, but then promptly lost the next 3 games pretty handily. Mana screwed once, mana flooded once, and just plain outplayed and outdecked the last time.